She was my roommate's girlfriend, but her eyes were on me. I swear, I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't ask for her to look at me that way, her gaze lingering just a second too long when Jake wasn't in the room. You know that feeling when you catch someone staring, and it's not just curiosity, it's something heavier, something that makes your stomach twist and your heart race like you're standing on the edge of a cliff? That's how it started. A glance. A moment. A spark I didn't want but couldn't ignore. It was like the air changed when she looked at me, charged with something I couldn't name but felt in my bones. I tried to shake it off, to tell myself it was nothing, but deep down, I knew better. I knew it was trouble. I'm not the kind of guy who betrays his friends. Jake and I had been through everything: late-night talks about life, love, and the future, broke college days when we'd split a single pizza to make it through the week, even that time we got stranded at a music festival with no ride home, laughing our asses off as we hitchhiked back to reality. He was my brother, not by blood, but by choice, the kind of friend you take a bullet for. So when Emily, his girlfriend of 2 years, started acting different around me, I told myself I was imagining it. She was just being friendly, right? Helping with dishes, laughing at my dumb jokes, asking me about my day when Jake was out. But then came the texts. One at 2 a.m. "You awake?" My heart stopped. My thumb froze over the screen. What would you do if you got that message? Delete it? Respond? Pretend it never happened? I stared at those 2 words for what felt like forever, knowing that whatever I did next would change everything. I should have stopped it right there. I should have turned off my phone, gone to sleep, and let it die. But I didn't. I typed back, "Yeah." And that's where it all went wrong. This isn't a story about love triangles or cheap drama. It's about loyalty, guilt, and the kind of choices that haunt you long after the dust settles. It's about the moment you realize you're not who you thought you were. How do you choose between your best friend and a feeling you can't shake? How do you live with yourself when you know you've crossed a line you can't uncross? Stick around, because this story doesn't end the way you think it will. It's messy, it's raw, and it's real. And by the end, you'll be asking yourself, what would you have done? Let me take you back to the beginning. My name's Ethan, and I was 24, living in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in Chicago with Jake. We'd been roommates since sophomore year of college, splitting rent, pizza, and bad decisions like they were currency. Jake was the outgoing one, tall, loud, the guy who could walk into a room and own it with a grin. He had this energy that pulled people in, made them feel like they were part of something. I was quieter, the one who overthought everything, always analyzing the room, noticing the little things. Maybe that's why I saw it before Jake did. The way Emily's laugh changed when she was around me. It was subtle, like a note in a song you didn't notice until it hit you just right. But it was there. Emily moved in with Jake about 6 months before it all started. She was 23, studying graphic design at this artsy college downtown, with this infectious energy that lit up our dingy apartment. She'd blast indie music while cooking, her voice humming along to some band I'd never heard of, filling the space with warmth. Her sketches were scattered across the coffee table, half-finished drawings of cityscapes, faces, abstract shapes that made you feel something even if you didn't know why. She had this way of making our cheap IKEA furniture feel like home, like it wasn't just a place to crash but a place to live. Jake adored her. You could see it in the way his face lit up when she walked in, like she was his whole world. He'd wrap his arm around her, pull her close, and she'd smile back, her eyes bright. They were that couple, perfect, but not in a fake, Instagram-filtered way. Real. Solid. Or so I thought. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I'd been single for a while, pouring my energy into my job at a marketing startup, trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted. It wasn't like I was looking for something, or someone, to shake me up. But Emily was just there. Always there. In the mornings, she'd be in the kitchen making coffee, her hair messy from sleep, asking me how my day was going before I even had a chance to rub the tired out of my eyes. She'd tease me about my terrible taste in movies, Apparently my love for cheesy action flicks was a crime, and we'd laugh, the kind of laugh that felt easy, natural. It was innocent at first. Just roommates being roommates, coexisting in a shared space. But then things started to shift, so slowly I barely noticed until it was too late. It started with the little things. She'd sit closer to me on the couch when we watched Netflix, her knee brushing mine, not pulling away. She'd ask me questions Jake never did, deep ones, like what I wanted out of life, what scared me most, what kept me up at night. I told myself it was nothing, just her being nice, friendly, the way roommates are supposed to be. But there was this one night, maybe 3 months after she moved in, that changed everything. Jake was at a work event, some networking thing he hated but had to go to. Emily and I were home alone, sprawled on the couch, watching some stupid reality show we both pretended to hate but couldn't stop watching. We were joking, throwing popcorn at each other, when out of nowhere, she stopped laughing. She looked at me, really looked at me, her eyes soft and searching, and said, "You're different, Ethan. You see things Jake doesn't." My heart pounded so loud I thought she could hear it. I laughed it off, made some dumb joke to break the tension, but her words stuck. They felt like a secret we weren't supposed to share, a door we'd cracked open that we couldn't close. After that, I couldn't unsee it. The way she'd linger in the kitchen when I was there, stirring her coffee a little too long, her eyes flicking to mine. The way her texts started coming more often, always harmless but pointed. "Hey, saw this meme and thought of you. You look stressed today, you okay?" Each one felt like a thread pulling me closer to something I knew I shouldn't touch. I told myself I was reading too much into it. Jake was my best friend. He'd been there when my world fell apart, when my dad died, when I didn't know how to keep going. I'd never crossed that line. Never. But deep down, I knew something was brewing. Something I couldn't control. And it scared the hell out of me. Then came the text that broke everything. It was 2:17 a.m. on a Thursday. Jake was asleep in their room, probably dreaming of the life he thought he had. I was up late, scrolling through my phone in the dark, trying to quiet my racing thoughts. My screen lit up with Emily's name. "You awake?" My thumb hovered over the keyboard, my pulse hammering in my ears. I should have ignored it. I should have deleted it, turned off my phone, and gone to bed. But I didn't. I typed back, "Yeah, what's up?" Her reply came instantly, like she'd been waiting. "Can't sleep. Wanna talk?" We texted for hours that night. Nothing crazy, nothing you'd read and think, "Oh, they're done for." Just personal. She told me about her fears, how she felt stuck sometimes, like her life was moving faster than she could keep up. She talked about her childhood, growing up in a small town where everyone expected her to be someone she wasn't. I'd opened up too, more than I meant to, about my dad's death a few years back, how it left this hole in me I didn't know how to fill, about the insecurities that kept me awake at night. It felt safe, like we were just friends venting, sharing pieces of ourselves in the quiet of the night. But it wasn't just that. There was this undercurrent, this unspoken thing between us, like every message was a step closer to a line we couldn't cross. When I finally put my phone down, it was almost 5 a.m., and my chest felt tight, like I'd done something wrong just by talking to her. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. Jake was in the kitchen, making breakfast, whistling some tune, completely clueless. Emily was there too, sipping her coffee, her eyes flicking to mine for just a second. It wasn't flirty. It was knowing, like we'd shared something we couldn't take back. And that's when the guilt hit. Hard. Jake was my best friend. He'd been there when I had nothing, when I was a mess, when I didn't know who I was. How could I even think about his girlfriend like this? How could I let myself feel something for her? But it didn't stop. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I fell into this dangerous rhythm. Stolen conversations when Jake was at work, her asking me about my day, me asking about hers. A brush of her hand when she passed me a plate at dinner. A late-night text here and there, always innocent but never quite. I told myself we were just friends, that it was harmless. But I knew better. I saw the way her eyes softened when she looked at me, the way her voice dropped when we were alone. And the worst part? I liked it. I liked her. More than I wanted to admit. More than I could handle. One night it went too far. Jake was out with his coworkers, probably at some bar downtown, and Emily and I were on the couch, watching some thriller on Netflix. The room was dark, the only light coming from the screen, casting shadows across her face. The tension was thick, like the air was holding its breath. She leaned into me, her shoulder against mine, and didn't pull away. My heart was racing, and I could feel hers too, her breath uneven. She turned to me, her face inches away, her eyes searching mine. "Ethan, what are we doing?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't have an answer. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream at myself for letting it get this far. Instead, I just sat there, frozen, as she reached for my hand. Her fingers laced through mine, soft but firm, and for a moment, everything else, Jake, loyalty, consequences, disappeared. It was just us, caught in this bubble where nothing else mattered. But then we heard the key in the lock. Jake was home. We pulled apart, hearts pounding, scrambling to act like nothing had happened. He didn't notice a thing, just plopped down on the couch with a beer, ranting about his night, oblivious to the storm brewing right in front of him. But Emily and we couldn't look at each other. The guilt was suffocating, like a weight pressing down on my chest. I went to bed that night hating myself, promising I'd end it, whatever it was. I'd stop talking to her, stop looking at her, stop letting myself feel this way. But the next day, my phone buzzed again. "Emily. We need to talk." I knew I should have said no, but I didn't. I couldn't. We met at a coffee shop a few blocks away, away from Jake's eyes, away from the apartment that felt like a minefield. She looked nervous, her hands fidgeting with her cup, her eyes darting around like she was afraid someone would see us. "I don't know what's happening," she said, her voice low, barely above a whisper. "But I feel something with you. Something I don't feel with Jake." My chest tightened, a mix of panic and something I didn't want to name. I wanted to tell her to stop, to take it back, to make this easier. But part of me, God help me, wanted to hear it. I told her we couldn't do this, that Jake was my best friend, that we were playing with fire. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes, but then she said, "I know. But I can't stop thinking about you." Her words hit me like a punch, because they were mine too. I couldn't stop thinking about her either. That's when I knew we were in trouble. This wasn't just a crush or a fleeting moment. This was real, and it was dangerous. We agreed to keep our distance, to act normal around Jake, to pretend like nothing had changed. But every time I saw her, it was like a knife in my chest. Her smile, her laugh, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, it all cut deeper because I knew I couldn't have her. And the worst part? I could tell she felt it too. The way her eyes lingered when she thought I wasn't looking. The way her voice softened when she said my name. We were both drowning in it, this pull we couldn't escape, this guilt we couldn't shake. Weeks passed, and we tried to pretend nothing had changed. But Jake started noticing things. He'd ask why Emily was quieter lately, why I was so jumpy, why the apartment felt like it was holding its breath. I lied through my teeth, hating every word, every fake smile. But the truth was, Emily and I were spiraling. We'd steal moments, a glance in the hallway, a whispered conversation in the kitchen when Jake was in the other room. Each one felt like a betrayal, but we couldn't stop. It was like we were addicted to the guilt, to the thrill of something forbidden, to the way it felt to be close to each other, even if it was wrong. Then came the night it all fell apart. Jake was supposed to be at a bar with friends, some guy's night he'd been talking about all week. Emily and I were in the living room, closer than we should have been, our voices low, our knees touching. I don't even know what we were talking about, just that it felt like the world was just us two, like nothing else existed. Until Jake walked in. He wasn't supposed to be home for hours, but there he was, standing in the doorway, his face unreadable. The air turned to ice. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at us, his eyes flicking between me and Emily. Then he asked, "What's going on here?" His voice was calm, but I could hear the edge in it, sharp and dangerous. Emily froze, her face pale. I tried to play it off, mumbling something about just talking, but Jake wasn't stupid. He saw the way we looked at each other, the way we pulled apart like we'd been caught. He knew. The air in the apartment changed after that night. Jake didn't confront us outright, didn't scream or throw punches like I thought he might. But he wasn't the same. He'd make these sharp comments, cutting little jabs that landed like knives. "You two seem close lately," he'd say, his voice dripping with something I couldn't quite place: anger, hurt, suspicion. Or, "Ethan, you're spending a lot of time with my girlfriend." It wasn't jealousy exactly, it was worse. It was the slow, sick realization that the two people he trusted most were hiding something. And he had every right to feel it, because we were. Emily and I tried to pull back, to put distance between us. No more late-night texts, no more lingering in the same room when Jake was home. We'd pass each other in the hallway like strangers, eyes fixed on the floor. But it was like trying to quit something cold turkey. Every time I saw her, I felt it, that pull, that ache, like a current running through me. And I could tell she was struggling too. She'd avoid my eyes, but sometimes I'd catch her staring, and it was like we were right back in that coffee shop, admitting things we shouldn't. I started staying out later, picking up extra shifts at work, crashing at a coworker's place when I could, anything to avoid the apartment, to avoid her. But it didn't help. She was in my head, in my dreams, in every quiet moment when I let my guard down. Jake was onto us, though. One night, he cornered me in the kitchen, his face tight, his voice low like he was scared of the answer he already knew. "What's going on with you and Emily?" he asked, his eyes searching mine for the truth. I lied, said nothing was happening, that he was imagining things. But my voice cracked, and I could tell he didn't believe me. He just nodded, his jaw clenched, and walked away. The look in his eyes, it was like I'd already betrayed him, like he could see the truth written all over my face. I wanted to tell him everything, to come clean and take whatever punishment he'd give me, but I couldn't. Not just because I was afraid of losing him, but because I was afraid of what it would do to Emily. She was caught in the middle, torn between guilt and something she couldn't name, just like me. Things got worse when Emily started pulling away from Jake. She'd snap at him over little things, dishes in the sink, forgetting to text her back, leaving his shoes by the door. Small stuff, but it felt bigger, like she was looking for reasons to push him away. I could see him trying to fix it, planning date nights, bringing home flowers, leaving little notes on the fridge like he used to when they first got together. But she was distant, her smiles forced, her eyes somewhere else. And I knew why. It wasn't just that she was falling for me, it was that she was falling out of love with him. And I was the reason. Every time I heard them argue, every time I saw Jake's face fall, it felt like a punch to the gut. I was tearing them apart, and I didn't know how to stop. One day, Emily pulled me aside while Jake was in the shower. The water was running, a low hum through the walls, and she grabbed my arm, her eyes wild. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, her voice shaking so bad I thought she might break. "I can't keep pretending with him when I feel this way about you." Her words hit me like a freight train. I told her we had to stop, that we were destroying everything, Jake, their relationship, our friendship, all of it. But she just looked at me, tears streaming down her face, her hands trembling. "I don't know how to stop feeling this," she said. And God, I didn't either. I wanted to hold her, to tell her it would be okay, but I knew it wouldn't. We were too far gone. The tension in the apartment was unbearable, like living in a house made of glass, waiting for it to shatter. Jake started drinking more, staying out late, coming home with this dark cloud over him. I'd hear them arguing through the walls, her crying, him yelling, doors slamming. Every time, I felt like it was my fault, like I'd lit the match that was burning their relationship to the ground. I wanted to come clean, to sit Jake down and tell him everything, to take the hit and let him hate me if that's what it took. But I was terrified, not just of losing him, but of what it would do to Emily. She was caught in this as much as I was, maybe more. She loved Jake, or at least she used to. But now there was me, and it was tearing her apart. Then came the moment I dreaded most. Jake found the texts. I don't know how. He must have borrowed Emily's phone for something, maybe to check the time or order food, and saw our late-night messages. Not the worst ones, thank God. We deleted those, covering our tracks like cowards, but enough. Enough to see that we'd been talking when he was asleep, that we'd shared things we shouldn't have. He didn't confront us together, didn't make a scene. He came to me first, alone, in my room. The door was barely open before he was there, his face pale, his voice shaking with rage. You've been lying to me, he said, his eyes burning into mine. My best friend. My brother. I tried to explain, to tell him it wasn't what he thought, that we hadn't crossed that final line. But the words sounded hollow, even to me. He didn't yell. He didn't hit me. He just looked at me like I was a stranger, like the guy he'd known for years was gone. Then he walked out, the door clicking shut behind him. Emily was a mess after that. She blamed herself, said she'd ruined everything, that she should have never texted me that night. I tried to comfort her, to tell her we'd figure it out, but every word, every touch, felt like another betrayal. We were stuck in this limbo, too deep to go back, too scared to move forward. I started wondering if I loved her, or if I was just caught up in the thrill of something forbidden, something that made my heart race and my blood burn. But the way my chest ached when I saw her cry, the way I wanted to fix it, to make her smile again, that wasn't just a thrill. It was real. And it was killing me. The final straw came a week later. Jake moved out. He didn't tell me where he was going, didn't say goodbye. He just packed a bag, clothes, toothbrush, a few books, and left. The apartment felt like a ghost town, empty and hollow, haunted by what we'd done. Emily stayed, but it wasn't the same. We tried to make it work, to see if there was something real between us without Jake in the picture. We'd sit on the couch, try to talk like we used to, even kiss sometimes, but it was different. Every moment was tainted by guilt, by the memory of Jake's face when he looked at me that night. I'd close my eyes and see him, hear his voice calling me his brother, feel the weight of what I'd broken. Emily felt it too. We'd sit in silence, the space between us growing wider, the air heavy with everything we couldn't say. In the end, Emily and I didn't make it. Not because we didn't care about each other, but because some loves are built on too much pain, too much destruction. We tried for a few weeks, clinging to the idea that maybe we could be something real, something worth all the chaos. But the guilt was too heavy. Every time we touched, it felt like we were stealing something from Jake, like we were living in a house we'd burned down ourselves. So we ended it. She moved out, got her own place, a tiny studio across town. I stayed in the apartment, alone, surrounded by memories of what we'd broken. The couch where we'd sat too close. The kitchen where we'd whispered secrets. The silence where Jake's laughter used to be. The twist? Jake reached out months later. I was at work, staring at my computer, when my phone buzzed with his name. I almost didn't answer, but I did. His voice was different, harder, colder, like the warmth we'd built over years was gone. He said he didn't hate me, but he couldn't forgive me either. He'd met someone new, someone who made him happy, someone who didn't carry the weight of what we'd done. He didn't ask about Emily, and I didn't tell him. I heard she was dating again too, some guy from her art class, someone who didn't know the mess we'd made. Me? I'm still figuring it out, still carrying the weight of what I did. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for betraying my best friend. I don't know if I'll ever stop thinking about Emily, about the way she looked at me, about the way it felt to lose everything for a feeling I couldn't control. What would you have done? Would you have answered that 2 a.m. text, knowing it might lead you somewhere you couldn't come back from? Would you have crossed that line for someone who made your heart race, even if it meant breaking everything else? Or would you have chosen loyalty, Chosen your friend, chosen the person you promised to be? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. This story's messy, it's raw, and it's real, and if it hit you hard, smash that like button and share it with someone who gets it. If you've ever been caught in a love triangle, if you've ever had to choose between love and loyalty, tell me your story below. I'm reading every single one.